Hello and welcome. As we set out to create this performance, I have thought a lot about what theater is. And the conclusion that I came to is at its core, theater is an art form that brings people together. As we continue to move through these uncertain times, we remember that we in theater are fundamentally what we always have been. We are storytellers. We tell stories to nourish the hope, the joy, the courage, the focus, the determination, and the resilience to create the worlds in which we want to live. It survives because it is one of the proven necessities to help celebrate our common humanity. We learn to live in the moment and to improvise when necessary. No matter what changes come our way in the future, we will evolve to find ways to tell these stories and bring people together. While all these words aren't mine, they belong to each and every one of us. It is what we do. We create. So without any further ado, it is with great pride that I present the following stories.
It's me again! The Magnificent Mysterio. Day 14 because of all public gatherings. You don't know what this means to me. I'm a cruise magician. I should be doing magic, but I can't do magic without an audience. 10 minutes ago, I made the Ace of Spades appear in my stateroom's mini fridge. Was that magic? No, because no one saw it, except me. And I know how I did it. There's no one to be impressed, no one to shout, "Ooh!" or "Ah!" or "Mysterio, I'm so in love with you. Here's my number." Which used to happen all the time. I mean, I'm the Magnificent Mysterio. I was so excited to be here. 6 months of cruising the Caribbean, performing magic for all the different types of passengers. I never imagined I'd be quarantined in my room with coronavirus. I thought like any other cruise ship, we'd all just get norovirus. I just made this egg appear in my hand. If anyone had seen it, they'd be amazed. They'd be awestruck. But I know that I keep this egg on my sleeve at all times. And whenever I need to impress someone, I just roll it into the palm of my hand and present it. That's all it is. No magic, no electricity, nothing amazing. Just practice, shuttle pass, and long sleeves. It's got me thinking. If I can't do magic, am I still a magician? Am I still magnificent? Am I still Mysterio? Hello, sir. Do you like magic? Good. Think of a card. Any card. Got one? Good. Was this your card? No answer. Can you believe that? When I started on the Lido deck performing this for people, they would erupt in applause. That's it. I can't do it anymore. I give up. Stop calling me Mysterio. My real name is Beth. I'm 28 and single, and I still have student debt from going to theater school. I started doing magic because I had a hard time connecting with people. Magic gave me this persona, this confident alter ego could use to face the world. But inside, I was never that confident. I was looking for validation. Boy, it feels good to just be honest like that. This is me world, warts and all. Wait a second. I think I just made my ego disappear. That's got to be the most impressive thing I've ever made disappear. And I didn't even see it coming. I may be the greatest magician of all time. I'm back, baby. Mysterio, out. Hey, babe, I just got back from the bathroom. You want to break up? Sure. No problem. I've been wanting to break up with you too. Ever since the day we met. But hey, you beat me to it. Good for you. Be friends. Sure, I'd love to be friends. Let's hang out sometime, buddy. At a football game, or maybe let's go to Hooters. the natural evolution of most friendships. They have a thing, then boom, friends. Upset? No. Why would I be upset? Don't you get it? Do you honestly not get it? I want to be left alone. I need to be left alone. I don't want your shoulder crying. I don't want a pity party. I guess I just always wanted to be alone. I was always closer to you than you were to me. I never wanted to get closer to anyone. I don't want you to make a plot just to get out of this. I want it all laid out on the table.
What's the stupidest thing that I've done? Yeah, I've got a good one for you. And no, it's not the time that I stole a hot dog cart from Times Square, even though that was pretty stupid. But I got an even better one for you. It was a normal day, and I grabbed my bag, my lunchbox, and waved my dad goodbye, and as usual, he yelled, "Don't do anything stupid." It's kind of like his motto. So I get to school, and this kid, Elroy, he's kind of like my arch nemesis. Elroy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, how would you like to be the coolest kid in school?" "Get out of my way," I told him. "No, really, I heard about this kid from the other school, and he was a real nobody. And then one day, he jumped onto a moving train, and now all the girls are after him, and he's like some sort of daredevil superhero. Every day at 4, a train comes out from the tunnel behind the bowling alley. Just saying, think about it." The rest of the day, I couldn't think about anything else but the train. I couldn't hear my teachers, and I couldn't read any of my textbooks. And as soon as the bell rang, I grabbed my bag and ran over behind the bowling alley, where I saw Elroy and his gang. I climbed up on top of the tunnel, and I heard a train rumbling. This would be my moment. The train burst through the tunnel, and I jumped. And that is how I ended up in a full body cast in the hospital. But, hey, word is that when I get back, I'm gonna be the coolest kid in school.
I used to go stargazing with my best friend. We had this field that we would always go to late at night when the stars shined the brightest. One of the best parts about this field was that it had this little hill that was perfect to lay on. Then as soon as we would lay down that hill and looked out into the sky, it was like we were looking at everything there ever was and ever will be. It was a beautiful thing to experience once, but we went back many times to feel that beauty again. Eventually, we learned this trick that made us feel like we were in space ourselves. The trick is quite simple, and anyone can do it. All you have to do in stargazing is, instead of thinking of us laying down and looking up at the universe, think of us being on the bottom side of the earth. So after you lay down, you can start to fall into the stars and become closer to everything out there. At first, after doing this trick, you might feel very small compared to everything else out there. But after waiting just a moment, you don't feel so small, but connected. Connected to the rest of the universe. A feeling of connection that one doesn't want to lose. Because if we aren't connected to something, then what holds us in a place? The answer is nothing. If we aren't connected to something, we are nothing. Then when my best friend unexpectedly left me, my connection was gone. So I searched and I searched for something to connect to, anything to connect to. Then once again, I found myself back at that hill, our hill. I laid down and once again felt myself falling into the stars. They are connected to the colors, lights, and the nothingness around me. Maybe one day I might see someone else out here falling from what was once our hill, looking for their own connection in this world.
You know, nobody ever really tells you just how small these staterooms are. I can just turn around without bumping into the bed, and the toilet over there doubles as a shower. Which is actually a good thing, because we ran out of TP like a week ago. I don't even know what time it is anymore. I used to have this intense pressing OCD. Gotta know the time all the time because of my Apple Watch. But I dropped it out the porthole. And I'm pretty sure it got eaten by a shark. There's lots of sharks out there. It's like they know we don't have a lot of time left. Someone told me they were nurse sharks, and that even when their stomachs are empty, nurse sharks are basically harmless, but I don't know who to believe anymore. Oh, the tour group from Idaho took the mouse hostage yesterday. The costume, not the kid who plays him. Or at least I hope they let the kid go. Because I think they're going to burn it in an effigy. They're probably going to set the ship on fire, but we're surrounded by water, so we should be fine, right? See, I'm spending my time meditating. There's no TV, and I've read all the People magazines that I stole from the store. I feel a little bit bad that I cut out all their heads with my cuticle scissors and pasted them onto the wall with toothpaste, but, you know, these are my friends now. We got, who's this? Meghan Markle, Billie Eilish, that, the serial killer guy, Cher, remember Cher? You know, I feel really close to them. I wrote them a song last night after I ate, like, this old mushroom pizza, and I got really high from food poisoning. Hold on. It's just a tragedy not to have an exit strategy. Just a menagerie of People magazine celebrities. No one ever really let me sing before. Probably a good thing. Oh, yep, there it is. The Nightly Wilding. See, I'm sheltering in place, but the Idaho group, they went feral. Fast. Grabbed the finger paints out of the daycare, got down to their skivvies and painting each other all these like wild colors. Started dancing on the captain's table on the sun deck. You know, from the howling, I think they just discovered that finger paint doesn't have any SPF in it. I'd offer my prescription kind, but it's pretty expired, yeah. Made me look like I was wearing vanilla frosting, so I never really wore it. Maybe I'll leave it out for those crazy Idahoans. Maybe if I do that, they won't make me walk the plank like they did the group from Florida. Hold on.
I thought about what you said to me the other day. About my painting. I stayed up half the night thinking about it. And something occurred to me. I fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. And I haven't thought about you since. Do you know what occurred to me? You're just a kid. You don't have the faintest idea what you're talking about. You've never been out of Boston, is that right? So, if I ask you about art, you'd probably give me the skinny on every art book ever written. Michelangelo. You know a lot about him, don't you? Life's work, political aspirations, him and the Pope, sexual orientation, the whole works, right? But I bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. You've never stood there and looked up at that beautiful ceiling, seen that. And if I ask you about women, you'd probably give me a syllabus of all your personal favorites. Maybe you've even been late a few times. But you can't tell me what it feels like to wake up next to a woman and be truly happy. You're a tough kid. I'll give you that. But if I ask you about war, you'll throw Shakespeare at me, right? Once more run to the breach, dear friends. But you've never been near one. You've never held your best friend's head in your lap and watched him gasp his last breath, looking to you for help. If I ask you about love, you'd probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable. Known someone who could level you with her eyes. Felt like God put an angel on earth just for you. And you wouldn't know what it's like to be her angel. To have that love be there forever. Through anything. Through cancer. And you wouldn't know about sleeping, sitting up in a hospital room for 2 months, holding her hand because the doctors could see in your eyes that the terms visiting hours don't apply to you. You don't know about real loss. Because that only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself. And I doubt you've ever dared to love anybody that much. I look at you, and I don't see an intelligent, confident man. I see a cocky, scared, shitless kid. But you're a genius, Will. No one denies that. No one could possibly understand the depths of you. But you presume to know everything about me because you saw a painting of mine, and you ripped my life apart. You're an orphan, right? Do you think I know the first thing about you, how you feel, how hard your life has been, who you are? Because I read Oliver Twist. Does that encapsulate you? Personally, I don't give a shit about all that. Because you know what? I can't learn anything from you that I can't read in some damn book. Unless you want to talk about you. Who you are. And I'm fascinated. I'm in. But you don't want to do that, do you, sport? You're terrified of what you might say. Your move, Chief.
I always wish my life was more interesting. I always wish that something exciting would happen. Something so big it would change my life forever. I'd only been attending Columbine for about a month before it happened, and I didn't really have any friends, being the new girl and all, so I just spent most of my free time at school aimlessly roaming the halls or finding a quiet place to sit and read. But I remember that day, I decided I would go up to the library and work on some homework during lunch, since I didn't really have anywhere else to go. But I'd only been up there for about 10 minutes when I heard this loud noise coming from out in the hall, and these two students ran in. There was a guy and a girl, and the girl was calling for the librarian, and she was saying that the boy who was with her had been shot. And at first I thought it was just a sick senior prank or something, since it was pretty close to the end of the year, so I just disregarded all the commotion. But then I heard Miss Nielsen shouting for everyone to get under the tables, and when we heard the gunshots and the screaming ring through the halls, we knew it was real. So I panicked, and I looked for a place to hide, and that's when I saw a student who I'd never seen before, crouched under the computer tables, and he must have noticed how lost and scared I was because he gestured for me to come and hide with him. It was just so weird that in the midst of all of this chaos, there was a moment where it felt like time had just slowed down, and I got a chance to look at his eyes. And they were this incredible shade of blue, they were so bright and full of life, and he gave me a timid smile, and there was just a certain kindness in his expression that made me feel safe, despite everything that was going on around us. But that moment of silence was broken by the sound of more gunshots getting closer, and the boy I was sitting with, he grabbed my hand, and he locked his ocean blue eyes with mine. "We're gonna be okay," he said. "Everything is gonna be okay." But then the doors burst open, and everything after that just felt so surreal. It's like it was happening so slow, but just all too fast at the same time. And the voices of the two gunmen just made my skin crawl, and I shut my eyes, and I just kept hoping that everything would go away. "Wake up, Nicole, this isn't real. No, it can't be. Wake up!" It wasn't long before the crack of several gunshots had silenced my thoughts, and it took me a second before I could even fully realize what had happened. I reached down to grip the source of the pain. Blood. And I looked to my left, and the boy who I was sitting with, he had let go of my hand, and he was gripping his stomach instead, pleading with the shooter, begging for his life. And I tried to think of something to say, as if choosing the right words would have saved him, but I could barely even form a complete thought when... No, I can still see it. There was just so much blood, and I remember grabbing his hand, and it was still warm, but his eyes, those gorgeous blue eyes of his, they were different now. Empty. And the room was spinning, and the pain from the bullet in my thigh was just unbearable, and I blacked out after that. I can't handle the sight of blood. But I remember waking up, surrounded by paramedics and the police, and the sound of sirens echoed in the distance. This woman lifted me onto a gurney, and she kept trying to ask me questions, but everything was just a big chaotic blur. I mean, there was so much pain in my leg, and my head was just full of questions. Why did this have to happen? How did I survive this? Why didn't he? He didn't deserve this. He had a family and a future and friends. He had a life. Life. We take it for granted, don't we? I always wished my life was more interesting. I always wished that something exciting would happen. Something so big that it would change my life forever. Be careful what you wish for.
War. War never changes. In the year 1945, my great-great-grandfather, serving in the army, wondered when he'd get to go home to his wife and the son he'd never seen. He got his wish when the U.S. ended World War II by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world awaited Armageddon. Instead, something miraculous happened. We began to use atomic energy not as a weapon, but as a nearly limitless source of power. People enjoyed the luxuries once thought the realm of science fiction. Domestic robots, fusion-powered cars, portable computers. But then, in the 21st century, people awoke from the American dream. Years of consumption led to shortages of every major resource. The world began to unravel. Peace became a distant. It's now the year 2077. We stand on the brink of total ruin. And I am afraid. Myself, or my wife, or my infant son. It's my time in the army taught me one thing. It's that war never changes.
I'm a medium. Why do you keep asking me if I'm a small? Do I look like a hobbit to you? I have wide shoulders. Look at me. See how my shoulders are wide and then as you go down it starts to V? That's because I have wide shoulders, alright? I know the last shirt you got me was a small and still looked big on me. That's because it was made that way. That's the design of how that company makes that style shirt. There are other companies I can get in a large, like that coat you made fun of me in. That was the style, a little baggy. Well, actually, yeah, you're right about the coat. It was too big. Why did I buy a coat so big? Honey, do I suffer from a slight case of Napoleon disease? Not like a big case, but like a small one, you think? Well, my height is 5'11", so I'm no Napoleon. What? I am 5'11". I am not 5'9". Listen, when we measured last time, it was in an old house with crooked flooring, alright? Your mother's floor is still the original from 1910. It's all lopsided. Everyone's height fluctuates in that house, depending on where they're standing. Your Uncle Toby, who's 2'2", was staring down at me in the kitchen, and then in the living room he was at my knees. Come on, that's not fair. I'm no smaller than 5'10". That I'm 100% sure about. On my life, I swear on my life about that. And that's still a good height for a guy, so I'm not complaining. I'll give you the inch. But please, most shirts fit me as a medium, so order me a medium.